Today, we're going to talk about the life of Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler. Her story isn't just one of personal achievement, you see. It's really about a foundational challenge to the American medical establishment, a structural disruption that happened while the nation itself was in the middle of a profound transformation.
So, I want you to picture this. The year is 1864. The United States is deep in the third year of a brutal civil war. The whole country is being torn apart over the fundamental question of human freedom and the institution of slavery.
And right in the middle of all that chaos, something truly remarkable happened. It wasn't a battlefield victory or some big political decree. No, this was an academic achievement, one that would quietly but permanently change the entire landscape of American healthcare.
On March 1st, 1864, up in Boston, Massachusetts, Rebecca Lee Crumpler walked out of the New England Female Medical College holding a degree. But let me tell you, this was no ordinary graduation. The Board of Trustees gave her the official title Doctoress of Medicine. And with that, she became the first African-American woman in the United States to earn a formal medical degree. The second, Dr. Rebecca Cole, wouldn't come along for another 3 years. Now, to really understand how huge this moment was, we need to take a look at the world she had to navigate just to get there.
Her journey began in a world defined by just incredible barriers of race and gender. She was born Rebecca Davis in 1831, free in a slave state. She spent most of her early years in Pennsylvania, where she was raised by an aunt who was the local community healer. And it was right there, watching her aunt care for the sick, that Rebecca developed this deep desire to relieve human suffering, as she put it. So in 1852, she moved to Massachusetts and spent 8 years working as a nurse. And this was her hands-on clinical training, because formal nursing schools didn't even exist yet. Now, let's put her ambition into perspective, because the numbers are just staggering. In 1860, right before she was admitted to medical school, the country had over 54,000 physicians. Out of all of those, only 270 were women, and all of them were white. Only 180 were African American men. The path she chose was, statistically speaking, almost impossible. But she had strong letters of recommendation from the physicians she worked with, and she was admitted. Her tuition was actually supported by a scholarship fund from an Ohio abolitionist named Benjamin Wade. And get this, throughout the entire history of the college, she would be its one and only African American graduate. So after graduation, her mission became crystal clear. The Civil War was over, and a humanitarian crisis was unfolding in the South. You had millions of formerly enslaved people who were now free, but had no access to even basic health care. Dr. Crumpler knew exactly where she was needed most. She moved to Richmond, Virginia, the former capital of the Confederacy. There, she worked with the Freedmen's Bureau, providing critical medical care to a population of over 30,000 newly freed African Americans, who were often denied any treatment by white doctors. And in Richmond, she was met with intense, systemic resistance. I mean, think about it. An educated, Black, female physician in the post-Confederacy South. The white male medical establishment didn't see her as a colleague. No, they saw her as a direct threat to the established order. For instance, pharmacists would frequently just refuse to fill her prescriptions. The harassment wasn't just professional, it was personal and deeply racist. She was subjected to constant insults that tried to deny her expertise, her authority, and her very humanity. Some of her so-called colleagues even claimed the MD after her name stood for mule driver. But she persevered, focusing her care on the diseases affecting women and children. After her time in Richmond, Dr. Crumpler returned to Boston, and it was here that she cemented another part of her legacy, not just as a doctor, but as a public health educator. In 1883, she published a book of medical discourses, and this was absolutely groundbreaking. It was one of the very first medical texts written by an African American for a general audience. It wasn't for other doctors, it was for mothers and nurses. Her goal was to empower people with the knowledge to prevent illness before it even started. And the ideas in her book were years ahead of their time. She focused on hygiene and nutrition, the importance of breastfeeding, and she strongly rejected the common, dangerous practice of giving opium-based sedatives to infants. She also argued that a doctor's duty was to be just as present for the birth of a poor child as for a wealthy one. And yet, despite this incredible life of service and innovation, after she died, a long period of historical silence just began. For over a century, her legacy was almost completely erased. She passed away in 1895 at the age of 64 and was buried in Fairview Cemetery in Boston. And for the next 125 years, her final resting place would remain unmarked, a literal physical symbol of how her story was forgotten. And this is maybe the most poignant symbol of her erasure from the historical record. Despite exhaustive searches, no confirmed photograph or portrait of Dr. Rebecca Lee Crumpler has ever been found. We know her work, but we do not know her face. But in recent decades, a powerful movement of historians, physicians, and community activists has worked to reclaim her story and restore her to her rightful place in American history. These efforts really picked up in the 1980s with the founding of the Rebecca Lee Society. Then, in 2020, a community-led effort finally placed a proper headstone on her grave. The city of Boston now celebrates her birthday, and her home is a landmark on the Black Heritage Trail. Her legacy has really come full circle. Boston University School of Medicine, the successor to her college, now has a scholarship in her name to support Black women and other underrepresented students, making sure the barriers she faced are lowered for generations to come. Her career is a testament to a profound truth, that medicine is more than just science. It's an act of social justice. She understood that to truly heal people, you have to fight the systems that make them sick in the first place. You know, the rediscovery of Dr. Crumpler's story after more than a century of silence, it leaves us with a really critical question. Whose history has yet to be written?